G'day guys and gal. We all know I'm pretty harsh to Angron. After all, my pet name for him is the walking abortion. But some people say that I misunderstand him, that I overlook his positive qualities and badassery, and that I'm unfair to him because he was given the shortest stick of all the Primarchs. And hey, maybe I like abortions, so it could just be a really misconstrued compliment. Nah, the reality is that Angron, through the virtue of being the shittest Primarch, is the shittest Primarch. And by the end of this video, not only will you have hopefully subscribed because I really want to overtake Arch so I can make a really fun video that he's gonna hate, but that you'll also regard Angron in the same way as you would a foreign semen splatter on your imaginary girlfriend's miniskirt. Before we get started, August has been a big month. Stuff has happened, but all that stuff pales to the August Surfshark Majorkill sponsorship. Honestly wild. They've renewed my contract 4 times now. Each time the contract expires, I'm like, yeah, look buddy, they'll cost you more. And each time they agree. You guys must absolutely love VPNs, which I guess makes sense because you guys love boatloads of hentai. Surfshark VPN is one of the cheapest, easiest to use, and most reliable VPNs on the market. Why do you care about VPNs? Well mate, if you want to expand your Netflix library, Surfshark VPN. If you want to browse some seedy shit without getting exposed, Surfshark VPN. If you've found your country to be spontaneously taken over by extremist militants, Surfshark VPN. A single click and bam, it's like being on holidays in another country. All this for only $2.20 a month when you use my link and code below Majorkill to get a whopping 83% off. God damn. And if for some godforsaken reason you regret the purchase, then Surfshark VPN offers a 30-day money-back guarantee. Thank you Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video. Today we'll go over Angron's origins, his special Primarch powers, and highlights, which are actually just lowlights, and why he's such a useless piece of shit. It'll be like my Gilliman and Lion videos, except instead of sucking them off, I'll be shitting all over him. Let's get into it. The Primarchs were all supposed to be more or less equal. Sure, Lorgar fought like a bitch, but he did instigate the Horus Heresy, which was a pretty impactful thing to do. Sure, Sanguinius might be a god-tier super warrior, but he is a bit of an angsty bitch with poor commanding skills. All of them fit roughly on the same plane of quality. All of them except Angron. Now it would be easy to blame it all on the butcher's nails, but the reality is, he was shit without them. When Angron landed on his homeworld and was taken by the slavers, he was instantly seen as a toy to be thrown to the dogs. Primarchs like Sanguinius and Fulgrim were able to influence the people that found them into looking after them. Like, Fulgrim was supposed to be culled due to the planet's extreme lack of resources, but they decided to keep him. The slavers, on the other hand, saw next to no value in Angron, despite him very clearly being some kind of demigod. That's how uncompelling he was. Now to his credit, he did very well in the arena he was forced to fight in, but like, no shit, if you throw me into a special ed class and declare a fight to the death, I would like my odds as well. During this time, Angron discovered his special Primarch power, the ability to take pain away from others and absorb it into himself. Wow, amazing! Even Gilliman's ability to do quick maths is more impressive than that. It also doesn't make much sense, like, was Angron supposed to be a healer but got forced into a DPS role? If so, then why were his World Eaters so vicious and violent before they were even reunited with him? Just seems like a really shit power for a berserker to have. As Angron grew older and more powerful, he tried to escape numerous times and failed every time. Pretty much any other Primarch would have escaped easily. Corvus would invis out, Sanguinius would fly away, Magnus would teleport away, Horus and Lorgar would talk their way out of it, Gilliman would organize a rebellion, Vulcan and Ferris would punch their way out, you get what I mean. Angron couldn't even convince his masters that having him as a legendary warlord for their armies would be more valuable than him stabbing dipshits half his size. It was only after Angron had been inflicted with the butcher's nails and forced to kill his father that he was like, maybe I should stage a rebellion in order to escape. Fuck me man, took his time. The rebellion was a success, and Angron was able to escape to the countryside. Did he build up a large army and overthrow the vicious tyrants? No. Did he create a hidden base so that his people could be safe in? No. Did he get enough food to keep his army running? No. All he did was fucking attack shit with his spaz gladiator army like some fucking Spartacus wannabe for a few years until half of the original gladiators were dead and the remaining 1,000 was surrounded by an unbeatable army. Man, if only Angron had, rallied the millions of oppressed citizens to his cause. Honestly, I reckon it's because of all this dumbassery is why that when the Emperor arrived, he only saved Angron and not any of his gladiatorial warriors. I'm sure if the angry man had a more sustainable plan, the Emperor might have rewarded him. Regardless, Angron was teleported away from his home planet and all his warriors were slaughtered, hence making Angron the only Primarch who was unable to conquer, or at the very least greatly improve his homeworld. Even Mortarion, who had to fight the Warhammer equivalent of the Lich King, was still able to do 95% of the work. Conrad landed in his planet's crust, had to crawl through magma, then had to hide from rapists as a toddler, and lost his fucking marbles, and he was still able to become king. So as you can imagine, Angron threw a tanty and started sulking. Any World Eater, at the time called Warhounds, who tried to talk to him were beaten to death. The Legion lost their Legion Master and most of their command structure to Angron's hissy fit before Khan finally convinced him to take a chill pill. To make matters even worse, the nails in Angron's brain were not designed for a Primarch, hence they were hammered in very crudely. As such, they more or less gave Angron terminal brain cancer, and they guaranteed that the Primarch would die in the next few decades. If Angron was seen as someone with more character and value to his overlords, I doubt they would have done that to him. Angron and his World Eaters built a dark reputation during the Great Crusade. They would go in, massacre any resistance, and then continue to massacre until the world was more or less empty. Eventually, the Imperium started directing the World Eaters to worlds that they had no interest in bringing into compliance, but instead wanted it more or less bulldozed. As Angron's rampage tore throughout the galaxy, one thing became clear: he fucking resented his sons. He would always point out how much better his gladiators were or how they were just unworthy. His sons just wanted to make their father proud and happy. Angron basically said that because they didn't have the butcher's nails, they would never compare to his past army, and that the only way he would even consider them would be if they fucking hammered nails in their brains. Sick one, Dad. The World Eaters, desperate to appease their abusive father, worked tirelessly to recreate the nails and make them compatible with the Astartes brains. This was a difficult task, as the Butcher's nails were a Dark Age of technology device. Such devices were a bitch to recreate. Probably Angron's most embarrassing moment, however, was when he sent his legion in to fight a heavily defended world full of fancy weapons. They were given 31 hours to take the world or be punished. Despite a mad effort, the planet was not taken in the 31 hours, hence Angron ordered the legion to kill 10% of itself. The commanding officer refused, so Angron entered a rage and began slaughtering his sons, only being stopped when all the World Eater librarians worked together to knock his ass out. Whilst work on the nails continued, a large amount of World Eaters knew that the nails would lead to damnation, so they staged a coup to try and prevent it from happening. The coup failed and they were slaughtered. It goes to show how much of a failure Angron is when he was the only Primarch whose sons entered into open rebellion against him before the Horus Heresy. The rest of the Legion then received their nails. So we have a Primarch who was enslaved, mutilated, barely escaped slavery, doomed to die, only saved by the Emperor's direct interference, hated by his sons, knocked out by his sons, and rebelled against by his sons, and universally disliked by the rest of the Imperium. Nice. But wait, there's more. The Imperium had been getting word about the World Eaters' deterioration into outright savagery, as well as their plans for the Butcher's nails. Hence the Space Wolves were sent to bring the World Eaters back to Terra to face judgment and to get the brain nails removed. This did not go well. The World Eaters attacked the Wolves, and the first recorded Astartes vs Astartes battle took place. Angron and Lehman fought in a duel, and on the outside, it did look like Angron kicked Lehman's ass and sent the Wolves running. At least that's how Angron perceives it. Whilst more Wolves died than World Eaters, the reality is that if Lehman had been ruthless enough, Angron and his legion would have died then and there. See, Lehman baited Angron into a kill zone during their fight. If Lehman gave the order, thousands of high-caliber bolter rounds would have torn Angron to shreds there and then. But Lehman chose to retreat and spare the World Eaters rather than putting them in their grave. I honestly would give this duel to Lehman. He held back, broke Angron's axe, and had him at his mercy. Angron was just too much of a dipshit to realize it. When the Horus Heresy broke out, Angron obviously teamed up with Horus because, of course he did. Here's the kicker. When the traitor legions began to purge their loyalist space marines, the World Eaters had by far the most amount of loyalist space marines to purge. That's right, despite the ant to butcher nails Astartes already been killed and the remaining legion all turned into berserkers, they hated their dad so much that they had the highest amount of loyalists. That's gotta sting. As we can see, Angron is a shit leader, shit strategist, and just, yeah, shit. But is he a great warrior? Is that his redeeming factor? After all, he was a gladiator. The answer is no. Out of all of Angron's Primarch duels, he has never had a decisive win. If anything, he's pretty much lost all of them. The duel with Leman goes to Leman. When Angron fought Guilliman, sure, he got the upper hand, but Guilliman was missing half his face after kicking Lorgar's ass, and Guilliman is not known for his combat prowess. Yet he was still able to hold his own against the fresh and berserk Angron. Like, he even got in some good hits, which pissed off Angron so much that he nearly died. Like, this is when Lorgar turned Angron into a demon, because otherwise Angron would have had a fucking aneurysm right there and then. Angron would go on to get his ass kicked by Perturabo, get slam dunked by the Emperor's force field, and it seems like he might end up fighting and losing to Sanguinius. Even in the current setting, he is still shit. His sword was shattered by a single Grey Knight as his body was banished back to the warp. He also nearly died during the Horus Heresy to a low-grade Titan. Sure, he held the Titan foot up, but the effort cracked his bones and ruptured his ligaments. Other Primarchs have done bonkers shit like that, if not more impressive. Guilliman survived getting blown into the vacuum of space without a helmet. Sanguinius 1v1'd Titan and killed it. Vulcan was murdered like 5,000 times and lived. Barely surviving a Warhound Titan is not really considered a bragging point. All of his abilities and lack of achievements aside, is Angron an interesting character? No. He's a raging one-dimensional demon that is entirely uninteresting or compelling. Even as a non-demon, he was still pretty lame. If they had written him as an empath who wanted to help people, but was inflicted with the butcher's nails and now had these two contrasting sides to him, that could have been fun. But instead, he was a killer who had these random ass useless empath powers that vanished when he got turned into an even crazier killer by the nails. The story of Angron fighting a mental battle of trying to be good despite the nails would have been engaging and full of tragedy. All we got was some unlikable dick with the mentality of a 9-year-old rage demon. This effect also rubbed off on his sons. Name a World Eater that in the current setting is enjoyable. Khan has lost his mind and now he's just an angry killer robot. The rest of the World Eaters just scream and guzzle Khorne's cum all day. The only World Eater that is cool right now is one of Fabius Bile's mates, who figured out how not to be a World Eater. That's right, the best World Eater is a World Eater who isn't a World Eater. Great work, GW. I don't want Angron to be shit. I wish he was written better, as a tragic multi-dimensional character. But all we got was a senile angry little man that couldn't get over some dead doomed gladiators on some backwater shithole planet. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be. Where only $1 per month give you access to a boatload of hentai, not including Angron hentai, because he's just not worthy. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the real subscribe button for more regretfully angry content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.